Welcome to this episode of Our College of Voices. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. Learn Anywhere was a concept first introduced as part of Ivy Tech's work with the Single Mom Design Program with Education Design Lab. As a result of COVID, the college implemented Learn Anywhere, which is a form of high flex instruction, during the fall 2020 in an effort to offer students increased participatory flexibility in their Ivy Tech courses. Since the implementation, there have been several changes to the way that we deliver Learn Anywhere. Today's panelists are going to offer some insights into Learn Anywhere and especially discuss important changes that are coming to Learn Anywhere. Let's meet our panel. First up is Deanna King. Hi, Deanna.
Hi, Kara.
Would you please tell us what you do for the college?
I am Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs for the Terre Haute campus.
Wonderful. And next up is Amanda Harson. Hi, Amanda.
Hello, Kara.
Would you please tell us what your role is here at Ivy Tech?
Yes, so I am the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs for the Madison campus.
Wonderful. We're excited to have you here. And last but not least is Justin Daymeyer. Hi, Justin.
Hi, Kara.
Would you please tell us what you do with Ivy Tech?
So I'm the Executive Director, Educational Technology, and I lead our team of educational technology coordinators and staff throughout the state.
Very good. Welcome back. And Justin and Amanda, you have both been on the previous episodes that we've talked about Learn Anywhere, and I will include links to those episodes in the show notes for anyone that would like to go back and listen, and I'll include those numbers in our call to action at the end of the podcast as well. But let's go ahead and dive in and talk a little bit more about what Learn Anywhere is and why the college offers Learn Anywhere.
The college offers Learn Anywhere to help students be successful and be able to deal with issues or problems that may arise in their everyday life. We want to give them the best opportunity to be successful. So Learn Anywhere allows them to attend class either on campus in a face-to-face modality or to join that same class virtually. And so if something comes up and they can't get to campus, they can join virtually and not have to miss the class. In the Learn Anywhere, students have an option of having access to a recording of the class. So if things get really bad and they can't attend either of those ways, then they would have a recording of the class.
Excellent. So, Deanna, you started to allude to in your description of Learn Anywhere, which was fabulous, that the definition is changing. Because you mentioned right now recordings are available, which makes me think there may not be available for the long haul. Can you give us a little bit of information, or can somebody give us a little bit of information on the updated definition and a little bit more information of why we're changing the definition of the course?
Like Deanna said, the Learn Anywhere courses, now we have an updated definition that really tries to tell students that Learn Anywhere is the combination of a traditional and a virtual classroom where you have the option to choose which one to go to, whether you're going to go to the classroom live or whether you're going to jump into Zoom and join at a live time. So at least half of the time is going to be for live sessions. The instructor decides for the remainder of the time the types of activities and things that the students are going to be doing. And like you said, that's really changed a lot over the past months. When we started in the pandemic back in March of 2020, the campus academic officers and the educational technology team, we were really trying to find that high flex definition, getting students to class any way possible. And we went with a highly flexible, high flex model in March 2020. And as we watched and we heard from faculty and we watched how things kind of played out on our campuses, we went to a definition that is in place through this next semester, spring, that took out the recording option. We looked at things and said, if a student really needs to be all recordings, they should be in an online class. Those classes are made for students to, never be live together. They can take it at their own time. And so we moved the definitions to where it didn't have that recording all the time promise. So we want everybody to come at live at some point, even though it's still high flex. And then starting in summer of 22, we go to that definition where we are now. And it just evolved, that one from spring just a bit to, we had a lot of faculty members saying, really concerned about the recordings and why can't, if I'm going to meet the student success commitments, why can't I have students, give them extra alternative assignments, or I want to record across all of my instructional modalities types. And so they really wanted that to be an option across all modalities and not just Learn Anywhere. And that group that came together for this most recent update that included vice chancellors for academic affairs, just in educational technology, and members of the statewide faculty council. And, they really wanted to embody that and embrace that. So the mention of recordings for emergency purposes was even taken out of the definition that will take place in summer of 22.
Amanda, I'd like to probe into that just a little bit more. When I think about our 5 learning modalities, traditional, online, virtual, blended, and Learn Anywhere, I have put historically traditional and blended into the same category because they require some form of on-campus activity. And then I've put Learn Anywhere, virtual, and online into a different because they don't. I now would actually shift Learn Anywhere over to the traditional side because while you don't have to come to campus, you have to be in at that time. And we really do encourage you to come to campus too. It really is a traditional first modality now, which I think is a big philosophical change from how we viewed it previously. Do you all agree with that, or am I way off base?
So I would say I agree with that, Karis. So I go to that anytime piece, that Learn Anywhere. What we saw happening with students is many of the students were going to the recording piece, which I see as an anytime piece.
Right.
And that's when they were not being successful because they weren't always watching the recordings or whatever. So really that anytime piece, which is more of that online, matching it up to that online, is going away.
Right.
So right now in the spring, faculty will be recording it, but they won't always be making it just automatically available to everyone. They will have that choice. And then in the summer going forward, it'll be the faculty's choice whether to record or not. So that anytime piece is diminishing. And so it's moving it more to that traditional side than to that online side of the spectrum.
What I hear you saying, Kara, is we've really seen the need for students that are able to come to campus to have that connection to community and to people and to their classmates. And just like we have our on-campus faculty and staff now, right? We come to campus. Sometimes we're on Zoom, but Learn Anywhere offers the students that same idea, but it is still there to be completely virtual by Zoom if someone really needed it.
And I think I can add to that just a little bit more and say that as I look at it, it's really, we still have that flexibility for students, but that flexibility is time-based or location-based. It's not really time-based, right? Because if I can't get to campus, I can still attend the class if something happens, and I don't have to miss out on kind of what I might want as a beneficial experience for me, because I really want to learn at the same time as my instructor. I might want to learn at the same time as the other students in the class, and I might really want that type of interaction so I can still get it. I don't have to sacrifice that just because something popped up. So in that sense, it really still is traditional. It's just traditional delivered in a little bit different way. So in the same way that virtually it's delivered 100% that way, in this modality, I still got that opportunity to be in the same room with my instructor. But the flexibility is there if I can't do that, but I can still make it at the same time. And I think that tightens that down a little bit and makes it even more friendly for our students in that sense.
as we think about Learn Anywhere, I think it's safe to say from the conversations, it was important to all of us to keep it. We see value in it. What is the main goal of continuing to offer Learn Anywhere when we have all these other modalities?
I want to shout student success, student success.
Yes.
I've said that Learn Anywhere provides class when you still can't make it physically to the classroom. And that's a component of student success, to say we're here and we'll stream you in if you can't make it.
Yeah. I got stuck late at work. My child is sick. My spouse had to work late and I can't get childcare. All of those things that we know happen every single week in our students' lives. Yes. So we've mentioned the other kinds of courses and we've talked about this a little bit, but I know one of you is going to come up with some beautiful way to quickly and easily describe the differences between blended virtual and online.
That's Justin's job.
It is. If I have time to write, I can always be way more eloquent with that. But it really is, I look at it almost mathematically, right? And so for those of us who are a little bit more mathematically inclined, we can look at that. But what truly differentiates that is really when I'm going to be on campus and how much time I have to be there, and how much of that time for the class is dedicated to this type of experience. And so if I'm in a blended class, all of the contact hours that are going to be synchronous, or what we like to call live, like at the same time, all of those are going to be on campus at the same time. And then some amount of the class outside of that is going to be delivered through Ivy Learn and other activities. If I'm doing virtual, all of the live sessions, all the synchronous sessions are going to be via Zoom, right? They're still synchronous, but I don't have to be in the classroom on campus in order to be able to do those. And then online's the easy one. On that sense is those are not live at all. Those are what we like to call asynchronous. And I don't ever have to be at the same time or place as those students. And that really is, to get to Deanna's point, to learn anytime, is because if I'm doing an online class, I really do learn on my schedule at my time. Yes, there are due dates and things like that, but it's really on my schedule at my time. Whereas the other ones, there's an expectation of being at a certain point, at a place at a certain point in time, whether that's virtual or in the classroom.
My apologies for putting you on the spot, Justin, because I was thinking back to Justin had a great pen in the new definitions. And I like in the ASOM 6.10, you can find the new definitions. And the first sentence of every definition is that Justin wrote them, are those quick descriptions of what each are. And then all of the other sentences get into the details and get into everything we need. But if you need really short snippets, he wrote perfect sentences across all those definitions.
So Kara, I would just add, for me, the way I think about it is the things that make the difference the most is scheduled time, the scheduled time of the class, and my flexibility.
Yep.
So Learn Anywhere has a scheduled time of class, but it still allows me flexibility to go face-to-face or virtually in that scheduled time. Blended moves into the next phase of part of it is scheduled time, but I lose the flexibility because it may be scheduled face-to-face or it may be scheduled virtually, and I don't have a choice. I'm supposed to go whichever way it's set. Same way with virtual. I move into virtual. Now I'm supposed to be there virtually. I still have a scheduled time for a portion and I got to be there virtually, but I'm losing my choice. So I had a lot of choice on Learn Anywhere, that I can decide which way I'm going to go. I lose that choice of modality. And then as I move to online, it's that I'm not limited by time. I lose that scheduling piece goes away. So for me, that's how I think about it, is how much flexibility I have to be somewhere at a certain time.
All very good points. And I hope that helped others understand even better. And if there are still questions after this podcast, I hope that folks will reach out to one of us to ask, because that's part of why we want to do this, is to clear up those questions. So what are the attendance requirements for a Learn Anywhere course? If a student is signed up for the spring, where do they have to be, when, and what decides that?
My answer is the same as any other course. The attendance, we want our students to attend classes. Ivy Tech as a college, we don't have an attendance policy that says if you don't show up so many times, you're out. So regardless of the modality we choose, our expectation is for that student to be present. Mm-hmm. So in a Learn Anywhere, the expectation is for them to be in class at the scheduled time, either face-to-face or virtually. And if they do have an emergency, then they're working with their instructor to get a recording or some additional information and help. But the attendance is the same regardless of modality in my mind.
Okay. Are there other recent changes that have been made to Learn Anywhere as this is going to release next Thursday, which is just close to the start of spring 22 semester. So as faculty are hopefully listening to this and staff are hopefully listening to this as they start that spring 22 semester, anything else that they should just know about Learn Anywhere that's changed recently for spring 22?
When I look to the last piece of policy that was added to our document, two pieces that I don't want to be lost. One is mention of the modalities are a decision and a collaborative decision of academic leadership on the campus. And so, we really wanted it, no one to think that they're being told to take or do anything in a certain way, that it should be a collaboration of leadership that chooses the modalities that are appropriate for the student population. That's in the last policy paragraph of the document. And then the other piece is that mention about we want to stay committed to the student success commitments. And so faculty are empowered to use academic freedom to take the conditions and the circumstances where students need flexibility and use them appropriately. And right, like those are two big pieces. They're at the end of the document. And it was a lot of the spirit of the conversations of the group that Deanna and Justin and I were in. And I, really don't want those to get lost in the mention of the changes in modality and Learn Anywhere.
Kara, I would point out one other thing in the definitions, which is not a change, but I think it's something that gets questioned or people are confused about. And that is the last line in the actual definition of students may also be required to take proctored exams that may be in addition to required contact hours. So what does that mean that they may be required to take exams? Some people look at that they may have to take an exam, but they can do it on their campus, even if that class is at another campus. Others have said, no, you've got to come to our campus to do that. So that's really a choice of that instructor and the course. If it's a class that maybe that campus that the student is on, it's a skills test or something like that, but they have nobody there to give that student the test. So those are things that instructors need to make students aware of at the beginning of class, if that's going to be a part of testing. So it's really kind of open and people have interpreted it differently. It's not 100% one way or the other. So I just wanted to point that out also.
Gina, that's a really important one because I think it goes back to some of the beginnings of how we offered online courses at the college way back when. You and I have been here that whole time, speaks to wisdom. And, we remember that you kind of had to know, does this course require you to go to Terre Haute or to Richmond? At that time, both of those campuses were big in that. Learn Anywhere is a little bit similar to that in that you really should focus on taking courses as close to home as possible because you may have to drive to that specific campus for the course. So while we can't limit where students take courses from in our banner system, This is another reason why I draw an analogy to a traditional class for Learn Anywhere. You need to be in proximity close enough that you could drive if you needed to.
Definitely. And I think one other thing that's important to point out, and for the first time, we've really in policy defined even what a traditional class should look like, at least in structure, not how I have to teach that or the content or anything like that, but at least structurally, this is what a traditional class really means. And conversely, I think we've taken a lot of time to be able to differentiate Learn Anywhere from what online really is. And there was some confusion about that. You've heard Deanna and I both describe all of these modalities slightly differently, and that's very easy to do because we all have slightly different lenses that we look at this through. But we've really done a nice job of saying that Learn Anywhere is not an online class. Like if you really need that complete flexibility of time and space, then online is the course from you. That is really the only 100% asynchronous option you have. Whereas all of these other modalities then are really there to give both the campuses and students, and primarily the students, the right combination of modalities that are going to meet all of the varied needs that we have throughout the system. So, but that's an important distinction to draw, is that online is 100% completely flexible. And then all of the other ones, including Learn Anywhere, have varying degrees of conditions that are going to help find the right combination for the program, for the campus, and for the student.
And while this is not a change to Learn Anywhere specifically, I wouldn't be me if I didn't add this one in, which is, unfortunately, as we sometimes name things at Ivy Tech, we started calling all the rooms with all the technology in them Learn Anywhere rooms. I am now in the process of charging people $5 every time they use that phrase, because that is not true. And it's one of the reasons why we have myths about Learn Anywhere, because people started to say, well, every room is a Learn Anywhere room, so every class has to be a Learn Anywhere class. That's so not true. That was never the intention. These are technology-enabled classrooms, and they're good for everything, whether it's a traditional class to an online class where you want to go in and record lectures to include in your online class, little mini lectures. That technology is there for that purpose. So that's my other, you all knew my soapbox on that one. So, all right, they're all nodding. Our listeners can't see that, but I can. So last thing, anything else that you want to share about Learn Anywhere in this episode as we get ready to start the spring semester with a slightly different definition, and then going into the summer with an even more different definition of Learn Anywhere?
I would just like to give a kudos for how many people really embrace the opportunity of Learn Anywhere. I know when we started our conversations about how we could improve the definitions, looking at the data of how many sections and how many students jumped into Learn Anywhere, and faculty that raised their hand and said, yes, I want to do this for our students, was just amazing. And so a huge kudos to everybody at every level of the campus, the faculty. It's tough to teach it, to juggle people virtually and in the classroom. And, kudos to the students who have also embraced it.
And I want to build on that, because that depth of passion for the teaching part specifically came out so clearly to me as we talked about the session that the four of us attended that you talked about, Amanda. We asked folks to say, why do you want to attend this session? And it was incredible what the depth of passion was about why this session is important. And we even heard from we've heard from several faculty and staff in the session about how important this was to them and would have been to their lives as students. So excellent point. I'm glad you brought that one in.
I would like to give some kudos, I think, to a lot of the support staff throughout the college. I don't know if the faculty and a lot of the staff that may be listening to this understand what a heavy lift it was to get that technology-enhanced classroom set up off the ground and installed in classrooms. And like, nothing is ever perfect, particularly when we have supply issues and things like that. But I think the OIT department, I think the Educational Technology Department, the faculty to dive in and participate in the trainings, I think top to bottom, no matter what happens with little hiccups that come, they did a remarkable job to be able to take the funding that was available to us, get that equipment into the classrooms at the scale in which they did, and pull that off and get it to the point where it is, and make that available to our staff and our students. Because, Kara, like you said, that's going to offer a lot of opportunity in all of our modalities, not just Learn Anywhere or anything like that. And the more that our faculty experience that and get used to that, I think it's going to open up additional doors of creativity for our faculty that they don't even know of yet, because not everybody's had an opportunity to experience that, because maybe it hasn't been installed and fully operational on their campus. So just a huge kudos to everybody that put in a lot of time, sweat, and tears to be able to pull that one off at a college and a system our size.
Definitely.
Gosh, I'm not sure I can add anything better than what those two have said, except I think I am going to say this. I think this is a perfect example of who we are at Ivy Tech and what we do. We jumped in with Learn Anywhere because we saw the need with COVID and to help our students still be able to attend classes. We saw that it wasn't working perfectly, and we're striving to make it better. And it's all about student success. And there's not a person in the college who has not tried their best to make it work or to make it better. And so I just think this shows who we are.
What an exceptional point to end on. Well done. Well done to all of you. We end every episode with a wrap up and call to action. So I'm going to build on what they all just said. Extend thanks to those faculty and staff who support Learn Anywhere, who've jumped into Learn Anywhere and taught it, because it is hard. If you've not done it yet, it is really hard to teach in that modality. I also urge everybody to make sure that you read the full Learn Anywhere policy. It is in ASOM 6.10. The quick link to that is ivytech.edu/policy, but I'll put a direct link to ASOM 610 in the show notes if you'd like to see that. And I will also be sending out, if I haven't already by the time this episode drops, I will be sending out additional emails about Learn Anywhere. So make sure that you take a look at those as well as we go into non-instructional week and the start of classes next week. I want to thank you all for listening to this episode of Our College, Your Voices. And I want to thank the members of today's panel, Deanna King, Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs at the Terre Haute campus, Amanda Harson, Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs at the Madison campus, Justin Daymeyer, Executive Director of Educational Technology Support and Operations at Systems Office. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. You can connect with me on Twitter at KNMTweets. Our producer is Sarah Ferguson. You can reach us by email at ourcollegeyourvoices@ivytech.edu. Don't forget, if you're an Ivy Tech faculty or staff member, you can join our Microsoft Teams listener community. And for those of you wondering about the Thursday updates, I'll be sharing information on that the same day this episode comes out. So keep an eye out for that. Our website, where you'll find links to our show notes, is ivytech.edu/podcast. Production assistance for this and every episode provided by Becky Campbell and the Ivy Tech Community College Creative Services team. Our podcast concept is by Matthew Pittman. Theme music and post-production services provided by the incredible Jen Eads at the Brassy Broadcasting Company. And we will talk to you next time on Our College, Your Voices.